Let anything that's going to keep you from being present on the call begin to fade away. And take a moment and put your hand on your lower stomach, just below your belly button. And take a breath and feel how much power you have in this area. This is your center. This is where truth lives, where strength lies. This is the place from which, masculine or feminine, we penetrate the world with our ideas. We birth our goals. We create our visions. Just tap in for a moment to how much strength, power, and ability you have as a human. No matter what may be going on in your external life today or in this moment. And then take your other hand and place it on your heart. And notice for just a moment the difference in sensations between these two areas. Our heart is the area we embrace from, where we generate empathy, compassion, kindness, and love. Notice the difference in the two sensations of the areas, but notice how they yearn to work together. And cooperation, collaboration, partnership. Strength without love is tyranny. Love without strength is victimhood. And they're together, you have the strongest single force on the earth. Feel these two areas within yourself. And acknowledge that you have access to both individual area and the combined area. Anytime, anywhere. By simply taking a breath. Let your hands fall back down to your lap. Take a moment. Return to your body if you left it. Return to the room if you left it. Begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. Maybe crack your neck, roll your shoulders around. Come back into our world by slowly blinking your eyes open and joining us. Hi, everybody. Welcome back.
That was wonderful, Trevor.
Thank you. It's one of my favorites. So in 2016, I knew this was actually my 40th birthday. And I think I hadn't drank in about a year. And I was at a workshop by a wonderful woman who I've mentioned a number of times named Michaela Bohm. And she and her teaching partner, Steve James, ran us through, it was 40 men. And this was a conversation about masculine strength and power on day one and sexuality on day two. So day one, we had to do all these funky exercises. We blindfolded each other. We walked around the yard blindfolded. We danced on one leg. We wrestled. We did some kung fu. We did some crazy shit. And then on day two, it was how do you take all the stuff we did yesterday and bam, apply it in the bedroom. And so day one, I was sort of excited, but had a movement background. So I was like, yeah, a lot of this was normal. But I woke up on day fucking 2 excited because I had a feeling she was going to teach us something that I had no idea about. And so we were at this lecture point, and Michaela, I think, had gotten frustrated with some of the questions we were asking, and finally just goes, do you guys want to know the ultimate secret to get, and this is all men, but it can go either way, to getting your woman to open, to surrender, to, and she's like hinting to do whatever you want, whenever you want, to just, like you want to take your sex life from here to here. She goes, do you guys want to know the secret? Now, imagine if I held my breath for like 60 seconds and I clenched as hard as I could, and there was like blood coming out of my eyes and sweat pouring down my face, was like, I want the fucking secret! And she knew this because there was 40 of us, right? Just like, yeah, like pens shaking. And of course, she holds the pause, just like, and I am literally dying. I think I lost like 5 years off my life in those 2 moments. And finally, she comes out and says, go home and get your shit together. Go to therapy, figure out your mommy issues, and stop lying. And the collective sigh of anguish and pain and like, oh, could it have been anything but that? Like, can I eat green juice? Is it like, spit poetry? Is it, play with this and then do that? Nope. Get your shit together. So what was she really telling us, and why does it apply to what we're talking about tonight? Tonight, we're talking about sex. We're talking about money. We're talking about one of my ultimate favorite topics, power, and how all of that has to do with sobriety. So why do you think I led with that story, and what does it have to do with what we're talking about? We're talking about power. We're talking about our relationship to the world. We're talking about our relationship to ourselves. Before we have a relationship, physical, emotional, intimate, spiritual, with another human being, especially when we're like kind of nervous about because they're hot, and possibly, if we're lucky, they're naked. And Courtney, you can jump in anytime if I start getting too excited.
Yeah, I'm like right on.
Okay. You're right on the edge. You want the secret? Before we have that relationship with anybody else and have it be successful, and I know successful is a loaded term, but before it's collaborative, before it's give and take, before it's real, we have to have cultivated that relationship with ourselves. And so let's talk about, we can talk about sex, we can talk about money, but let's talk about power in relationship to how we exist in the world. Court, what's your definition or idea of personal power?
Trevor, I've actually been thinking about this a lot because I was looking back at these last 8 months of not drinking and how radically my life has changed. And I'm like, where is the direct correlation here when you took away the alcohol to how you came into your personal power? That, Trevor, is integrity.
Mm-hmm.
My level of integrity shot up so much when I took away booze. Why?
Yeah, tell me how.
Because I wasn't hungover, right? And canceling work or plans or whatever. I wasn't and it's a integrity and power is a momentum game. It really is. So it's like Monday through Thursday, let's say you live really clean, right? You're like, I don't have a problem, whatever. And then Friday you have 3 glasses of wine. Saturday you're like, I'm gonna go to brunch, have a glass of champagne. Then that night, it goes over till Sunday night, and it's just you're just dragged a little bit, and you're just not showing up in your full embodiment of power. You don't have the energy for it. you're feeling a little off. And so, so for me, I mean, I was waking up just like so full of energy, so full of life. And so that allowed me to show up for other people. And when I started showing up for other people, right, not just friends and family, but clients, my business, my dreams, that's whenever I felt truly unshakable, because I was no longer judging Courtney, right? I was proud of the work that Courtney was putting out and who I was being. So even if someone had a problem with that, it didn't matter, because I could go to bed at night knowing that I was living in my embodied truth, power, and integrity.
We could just end right here. That was awesome. And you've used some of my favorite words. Momentum is literally one of my favorite words on the planet. Power, as we know. Integrity. So can you define integrity for people who may be a little bit wishy-washy on it?
That's a great question. So
Sure.
For me, integrity is what you say aligned with what you do. I mean, I think it can really be as simple as that.
I'll add one point to it.
Please.
What you think and say and act. Yeah. And so let's throw this idea in, because when you talked about integrity, here's a way that I love to frame it. And I think you remember when I did the challenge a summer ago and talked about leaks and actually had that video up of the plastic bag? So my definition of integrity is the same as Courtney's. It's thought, word, action, and alignment. Here's what I think happens when you're out of integrity. And this is what Michaela was saying. At the time, you guys, I didn't get it. I literally walked out of that workshop and was like, why the fuck do I have to go to therapy? Right? Like, why can't I just take more herbs to make my dick hard? What does this have to do? Like, what's a therapist going to do? That was a little bit confused back then. That was the beginning of the journey. Integrity, though, was solidity, energetic solidity.
That's good. I love that.
Meaning, like, there's more of me here. Yeah. When I'm out of integrity, I want you guys to think of this image of if I held a plastic bag full of water and I took a pin and I was like, Courtney, I really want to come hang out with you this weekend. And then the day before, I was like, I don't really want to. And so hey, my cat's sick. Boop. And I poke a little hole in it. Courtney and I are dating. Hey, no, I haven't been talking to any other chicks on Instagram. Boop, boop, boop. Anybody just get a little nervous, right? And I'm leaking then. I'm leaking energy. And so then when I show up to our intimate life, not even just our relational life, I actually believe this, and call me a new age hippie, I actually think there's less of me that shows up.
Absolutely.
And not just in like oh my God, you're somewhere else. No, actually my energy's somewhere else because I'm connecting with people and I'm lying. So I think for everybody, we use this term, don't we? Like it's not metaphoric, but like, are you showing up for yourself? Are you showing up for your partner? And a lot of people go, yeah, I was there. Right? Like I sat on a couch next to my ex-wife high for 5 years and was like, what do you mean I'm not here? I'm fucking sitting right next to you. Oh, I'm not here. I had no solidity. So I think solidity too is built with that. You hit the word again, momentum. Where imagine if you're like, this weekend, I want to get I want to be healthy. I want to work on my business. I want to have a great conversation with my partner. And then you do that. And then I know, it's like, and then you do it a second week in a row. Then you do it a third week and a fourth week and a fifth week and a sixth and a seventh and an eighth. And then it's been a year. It's been 8 months. Right? How different do you feel now in every way that you're showing up 8 months later than you did in like the second week or third week?
I'm just a completely different I shouldn't say completely different person. I still have all the same emotions, right, that I had before starting this journey. I just can navigate them and I can own them and I can stand in them and I'm not separate from them. I'm not disassociated from them. And what you were saying earlier about how all of you wasn't there, it's just like presence, right? So like if you are out of integrity, your mind's going to be like on all the shit that you are fucking up and that you're lying about, like you said. So when you go up with a lover or a partner or on a date, it's like there's so much juice that's missing. And that doesn't mean, and I'm not answering your question right now, I know.
It's okay.
But that doesn't mean that you're not a little bit wobbly or whatever. You're just whole. So the way that I'm different, to circle back, is, you know, I'm a yoga teacher. It's so wild how different my yoga teaching classes even are. The way I show up in my teaching, my music's not blaring. I'm not rushing through the postures. I can sit with them in a very uncomfortable posture and just let them breathe, let them die a little bit, because I have also allowed myself to die a little bit. And that meant, when I took the booze away, confronting all the parts of me that I was not cool with, that I was not in integrity with. So I'm a completely different person in that when I'm out of integrity, it is so fucking crystal clear. And I know how to pivot. And 8 months ago, it just meant reaching for the bottle or calling someone to go out and distract myself.
And so you believe in the power of that momentum as well.
I think it's the most powerful thing in the world.
Momentum?
I do.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's not instant gratification, which is what I think is so much about, right? Because it's so instantly, okay.
Yeah. And we can replace drinking here with pot, porn, sex, shopping, Facebook, chronic masturbation, sniffing glue. What else? Anybody going to throw in their thing? Anyone want to just like raise their hand and be like, oh yeah, that's right. That thing. Anywhere that we are, whoop, like we come up to a confronted issue and then go, whoop, I don't want to deal with that right now.
Right.
I don't want to deal with that right now. I don't want to deal with that right now.
So I have a question for you, Traver.
Oh boy. We didn't plan this, by the way, so I'm nervous as fuck. Go ahead.
Never. Well, so the Michaela Bowman thing happened, and she would like go get therapy, and you had that interim period. When did you really start coming into your full sexual power, and what was like the light bulb moment for you?
That's a great question. Thanks, Corey. I just got a little nervous. Here's when it happened, and I knew something was different. I went to meet a woman for a first date in a Starbucks. And I sat across from her and watched her pour sweat. And I went, are you okay? And she's like, what are you doing to me? And I don't know, fucking clue. Like, I'm just sitting here drinking my coffee. But I was, because my goal walking into that date was, how relaxed can I be around this person? And is there a way I can try to connect with her energetically? I'm an acupuncturist, I'm into some weird shit, without touching her. And so that's point one, right? Was, I'm having an effect on someone without even touching them. Okay. I write really great erotica. I can affect people with words. Pretty good idea of what I look like naked. Can affect people with my body. But to be able to affect someone, I mean, without even touching her, was when I realized that there was more solidity to me than there had ever been before. And coming into that experience too, I didn't care how the date went. I had no expectation. So it was like, I don't care. Like, if we fall in love and get married tomorrow, or we fuck on the table, or you tell me I'm like the ugliest dude you ever met and you leave. And I think some of it too was because of going to therapy, because of doing men's work, because of having a radical meditation practice for a full year, because of not looking at porn, because of not masturbating, because of taking all of like, how can I make myself as solid as possible? Not even really understanding what was happening at the time. It was just, hey, I don't want to have any leaks. Anything I can view as a leak is a leak. And then showing up and unapologetically being like, this is who I am. So that was point one. Point two was really when my actual sex life started to change, which was showing up to it with the same lack of expectation, of, so you know, let's just be fucking honest. My prior life, sex life was like a pornographized checklist.
Mm.
I was like, can I do all the things I see in porn? Can I do all, like, can I run down, like, we got this position, we got that position, I'm here, she's there, this probably looks really good in the mirror, like I have some props, and was completely not there. Was like more into the checklist than I was with this human. And so once I realized that, holy fuck, there's this whole energetic thing going on back and forth, when I got really obsessed and like not just turned on's not the right word, but obsessed with the tiniest change in my partner's breath. Mm-hmm. Like that to me, I mean, we're just going to dive into it. Mm-hmm. I was like, I fucking own you now. Where before it was like hitting with a hammer. Like, I hope this feels good. Like, you know, and more like, then it was, I just noticed your breath changed. Welcome to my world.
It's really fucking hot. Like, I can't even like deny, and I know every woman on this call is just like, God damn. Like,
it's a difference. Yeah. And that gave me the ability to fall in love with the orchestration of the sexual act, of the sexual experience, of the whole experience. Orchestration meaning from the day before I know it's happening to 6 hours after we're done. I felt like, I just became a chef. And now I can actually see and feel and taste and touch and sense all of the ingredients. So let me make some art here and fall in love with making art. And that allowed for the space of, okay, you're crying. That's okay. Okay, some fluids that just, okay, that's okay. Yeah. Oh, wow, we just bumped my forehead on the table. That's okay. Oh, wow, we're laughing hysterically now. That's okay. Because it also opened up the breadth, the allowance of experience. And again, it went from how can I create friction to how can I create energetic friction from the day before, and then make sure that all of the volume of that friction has been dialed down afterwards. Mm-hmm. Right? So sex went from rubbing stuff and spanking stuff to this whole like book of poetry. And I don't want to get too weird on it, but I think especially guys listening to this, we're focused on like the 10 minutes as opposed to the day before and the 4 hours after, right? Like I didn't know what aftercare was until going on this journey. I didn't really understand that what I did 4 hours before showing up to have sex would have as much effect as the act would. So I love it if guys take nothing away from this and we're like, fuck it, they didn't even talk about sobriety, which we will. Think of sex like an 18-hour act. That if you are in the leadership position, if you are the one who contains the masculine energy, which it's absolutely fine if you're not, but if you are, or whoever is, you're responsible for the integrity of that room. You're responsible for holding space for that room. And that means you're responsible for all the warm-up, all the consent, all the check-ins, all the and it's not like systematic unless you want it to be. And then afterwards, imagine taking a flower that's just been opened, and then we're like, okay, I'm done. And then you get out of the room and it's like, oh, fuck. And she's now responsible for like closing this thing, as opposed to each one of your hands under all the petals and like, hey, let's just make sure you're back to whole. Beautiful. Now, let's have some ginger soda.
Wow.
That's my rant on sex.
That was
one of them.
A rant. That was pure poetry. And if every man really got that aftercare piece, like, it's so important. I mean, what you just described is the masculine embodied to the highest degree, right? He's directional, he's focused, he's strong. He can hold my wildness, right? Because that is the feminine. Like, you want us to be a storm. You want us to come undone. You want us to forget our heads. That's hot for y'all.
It's the fucking hottest.
But we can't do that unless you can hold us. And you can't hold us if you're not in integrity. And perhaps you're not in integrity if you're not sober. Just saying. That was me. That was the case for me. And that's how all of these things come together. And it's the same thing, money and sex, they're kind of a lot alike. Yeah.
Same thing. Same energy, right? Your relationship to power, your comfort with either directing power, accepting power, or giving power are going to be your relationship to money, either earning, keeping, or spending, right? How comfortable are you? Why do you think that, like, we know the statistics? My old boss, Gavin DeBecker, he used to run like a workshop for people who had won the lottery. It was like a therapy session because those people would get all fucked up. And within a year, we know this statistically, within a year, lottery winners are more broke than they were when they get money. That,
right. Right. So it's like, can you hold space for the feminine? Can you hold space for the money? Can you hold space for abundance? Right? Are you integrity? Can you hold it? And Trevor, I just want to ask you, like, how much your life is different. Like, what would the man, before you quit drinking, what would he say about the man that's speaking to us right now?
This was the version of myself I always wanted to be, but it seemed so distant. It was like I'd think about my life and it would be like watching a movie. But then when I'd stop thinking about it, the TV would turn off. And I'd be like, oh, but I'm still living here. And I couldn't, it was so frustrating. I'll be honest, like, so much of my life was spent in frustration because I didn't know how to close that gap. And what I didn't realize was that I would take one step towards the goal and then I'd shoot out the hallway. And then I'd start over and take one step towards the goal and I'd shoot out the hallway. Meaning I wasn't going in the direction I wanted to go. And I was caught in this loop of a lack of integrity. And you said it, there's so much momentum to it. There's so many layers to it. There's so much depth to it. Where first it's just saying, like, hey guys, don't really want to come out tonight, thanks. Like, for a lot of people, that's a big deal. Let alone getting to, you know what, I think I'm going to start my own business. I think I'm going to write a book. I think I'm going to stand on a TED stage. I think I'm going to run a movement. Right? Like, I couldn't even tell my business partner that I wanted to write more, let alone tell my ex-wife that I thought it was fucked up that we slept in separate bedrooms after a year. Like, everything was just like, it was fine. Everything's fine. So you guys listening to this, if you have an image or a feeling that there's more to what there's more to what you can offer the world. That the vision and the reality that you want to wake up into is radically different than the one you're waking up into now. What's so easy for us is to bypass into that reality and say, like, cool, let me spend today jerking off thinking about the color of the inside of my private jet. As opposed to going, how am I going to get rid of this $3,000 in credit card debt and not keep shopping every Saturday when I wake up lonely? Right? So it starts here. My whole shift was a journey of integrity. And it was brutal. It wasn't fun. I realized, like, oh my God, I fucking lie to myself every day. And I then had to go, like, tell my clients. I was like, hey, guess what? Went to an AA meeting last week. It wasn't for me, but I think I'm still going to quit drinking. By the way, all those blogs that I wrote about health and wellness, I wrote half of them high. Whoopsie. And got the feedback from them of, okay, guess what? You're human. What are you going to do about it now? And that's the question, right? It wasn't like, fuck, I screwed up. I'm terrible. I'm a bad person. Or even worse, like, I'm getting divorced. Like my wife is leaving me over this. It was, okay, this is point zero. This is where I want to go. I am willing to do anything and everything.
That's
I'll
right.
sit in a goddamn pitch black room for a month. I'll volunteer in hospice. I'll live in the woods. I'll write a book that people are going to hate me for. I don't care. I will do whatever it takes.
That's right.
Starting with the minutia, which is, what was the first time you wanted to have a drink and you didn't? Do you remember?
I just no, it was like a decision that I made and I just did hard stop. But I
Okay.
do remember whenever I stopped feeling anxious without
Mm,
a drink.
yeah.
And that was a really fucking special moment. And talk about power, right? You know, because everybody can tell it was like that itchy feeling when you're at the table and it's, you know, a little bit uncomfortable and people are starting up conversation, but it's not flowing yet. And like, you can just see people looking around, like, where's the champagne? Like, where's my drink? Like, waiter, like you can actually see people like starting to get like angry, like a little bit frustrated. And that was 100% me. I
Right.
would get stressed out about like how long of a period it would be between bars when I'd have a drink, right? It got in
Mm,
so much of the way in life. And I remember being at that table and just being so present and just
yeah.
breathe with it. And like, I didn't need to look for the waiter. Like everything, my whole life was just right in front of me. And like the power that they were looking for in those bottles of champagne, it was already inside of me. And that was a moment I was just like, I don't think I ever want it. I not even want it. Like, I don't ever need it again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Beautifully stated. I hope people picked up on what she said. How many times for everybody else at that table did they leak a little bit of power? By wondering where the waiter is, by wondering, how am I going to manipulate my insides so that I feel okay in this situation? What I did when I showed up on that date with the woman who was sweating was showed up completely present and leaked no power, didn't give a fuck which way it went, left, right, or center. And she was leaking all over her face.
Right. And not needing anything from her. So I work with a lot of women and they are like, why am I attracting these men who are so outside of their integrity? And it's like, well, you know, are you showing up in integrity? And that's how this thing is going to keep going. Like, there's no magical creature or
Mm-hmm.
substance or anything that's going to show up in your life and you're under any illusion that that's going to happen. Like, it's not. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it starts the moment, like you said, a fucking enough. Like, I'm looking in the mirror, I'm seeing this shit, there's a lot of truth, it's gnarly, it's gross, it makes me want to vomit, I'm going to hit my knees now.
Mm.
And that's the moment life begins. And there's a transitory process where things get hard, which is why we have the program Intoxicate.
Yeah.
And then they start getting really beautiful. I want to make sure that we're opening up the floor to questions.
Yeah, you guys seem to know where the chat is, but feel free if you have a question. Definitely, no one's coming to save you. I believe that. Yeah, there is a decision. So for all of you, if you're curious, I want to direct this so it's not just us like lecturing, but actually just
Yeah.
sharing what our experience was, because we both came to a decision point. And people always go, "Oh, it must have been so easy for you."
No.
Like, thanks, bro. Yeah, like I didn't have, or I talk to people like, hey, clearly alcohol is an issue in your life. Pot's an issue. I talk to guys all day. I'm like, hey, porn may be an issue if your wife's leaving and you're still looking at it all day.
No way. No, it's not, man.
No, yeah, like everybody looks at porn.
Definitely not that. Yeah,
Yeah.
super normal.
Mm-hmm. There is a point that they come to and say, but there's a wedding this summer. But my buddy's got a bachelor party in 6 weeks. But I'm single. How am I going to date and not drink? How am I going to have sex and not drink? How am I going to trust us? Everything that you're worried about, we went through.
Mm-hmm.
And it just comes down to, what do I want more right now?
Mm-hmm.
To deal with a little bit of discomfort and maybe learn a skill. Maybe learn that, like, man, I'm not that good in social situations until I've had my third drink. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have to start asking people more questions or be more curious when I walk into new people. I have to be willing to be the guy that walks up and introduces themselves to people. if you ever eat dinner with me, I introduce myself to the wait staff. And people are like, why the fuck do you introduce? I'm like, I just want to make it a habit that I introduce myself to everybody. Because then there's no weird like, oh, it's like, hey, I'm Trevor. Nice to meet you. Hey, yep. Thank you. And then it's just like, breaks the ice.
Really?
Yeah. I'm telling you. Well, first of all, when you guys, this is like if you take 2 points from this call, introduce yourself to the wait staff, and you will get one, amazing service. Two, you will literally watch people's eyes light up because they've dealt with fuckheads for most of the night. And here you are like, hi, what's your name? Oh, you're an actual human. Thank you. Thank you for bringing me my food. I'm going to put this in my mouth and swallow it. I really appreciate the fact that you didn't spit in it. Have a lovely evening. Just throwing out some pro tips here. So we got a question, Court. Any tips on how to get more clear on your passion? Ooh. How to figure out where you want to be if you know you currently aren't where you want, if that makes sense. Michelle, I think what you're asking is, how do you know if you're at point A and there is some mythical point B, how do you know what that point B is and what it looks like? Is that, yeah? It was beautiful. Court, you want to take a gander at this and then I will?
I actually would love for you to start if you would.
Sure. Not at all. Michelle, what turns you on? And I mean that like from here down and from here up. Like what lights you up? Right? What, and like, you know what? I don't want to have a conversation with a blank space. So I'm gonna unmute you. Hi. It's a pleasure to meet you or see you.
You too.
Thank you.
See, that's where my problem is. I know there's things that like I kind of like, but I never follow through with, and I guess I'm trying to figure out what my actual passion is. That's where I'm having an issue with.
Do you think that if you knew what it was, you'd follow through with it?
I think so.
Yeah, so maybe that's just a story to look at. That you may have a number of passions and you just have a follow-through problem.
Yeah.
You would follow through.
Yeah, it's not like there's this mythical thing that like, oh, when I find guitar, I'll practice every day. But so far I've just had, all these other things that I haven't followed through on.
Like I went to school to be a pastry chef and I'm certified, but then once I got there, I'm like, I don't really like this anymore. And then like, I find like I pick things to do and I do follow through with them, but then I realize I'm not that passionate about it once I get to that point.
And that's a pattern in your life.
Yeah.
Of getting to the end. Well, there's, if you talk to entrepreneurs, there are people who are like just starters, just love to start businesses. There are people who love to be in the middle and like that grind period. And then there are people who love to take businesses and manage them and run them. And they don't swap well. Does that make sense? So there are people that like, you take the upstart people and like 6 months in, they're like, get me the fuck out of here. And you take the managed people and you put them in the beginning and they're like, I don't want to put all this effort in to get this thing going. So it may just be about you knowing with yourself that you get more excited and turned on by the start and the chase than you do by the static. And perhaps an exercise is to actually stay in it, even though it's not turning you on the way the start was. Because it's really easy to be excited at the start of anything.
Mm-hmm.
But perhaps give yourself just an experiment of, you know what? I'm going to make pastry for a year. I'm going to do it for a certain period. And I'm going to see if I fall in love with that or if I take that idea and can play off of it. It sounds like you have passion.
Yeah, because I have a regular day job. Like I work for the Department of Defense in contracts, and it's boring to me, but it's a good job. So I'm trying to find something outside of that excites me. And I think that's where I'm having a problem trying to figure out what that is.
There are a number of like coachy exercises, like, we can say with you, like, if you could do anything in the world, what would you do? And I know those are kind of shitty questions because people are like, I don't know, but what did you like to do? What do you talk to your friends about? What conversations, what would you do for free?
I love to travel. Like I try to go as many places as I can. And I love talking about that.
Beautiful.
And I also love music too. I'm not a musician, but I enjoy music. Like I have it playing all the time. Like I just enjoy it.
Amazing. So you do have some passions. And oftentimes though, what people need to separate is my passion and how I make money.
Yeah.
a lot of us, Courtney and I are very fortunate. We get to make money doing our passions. But my biggest passion in life is surfing. And I, from forever and still to this day, would never, ever enter a surf contest because I didn't want it to be how I got paid.
I was going to say, I think what you just mentioned, how to turn your passion into making money, that's where my mindset is right now. I'm trying to find something that I'm passionate about to make money.
Yeah, it's definitely doable. And so ask yourself this, and then we're going to hop back into, someone had a question about alcohol.
Okay.
Who's doing what you want to do?
I have no idea.
Are there bloggers? Are there people getting paid to travel?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay. So you have a path. It's not like you're creating a brand new thing.
Yeah.
So you also, if you're a certified pastry chef too, let me tell you that you got some ways to make money in all of the places that you go. And perhaps you could just have great music playing in the background.
Yeah.
Think about it. Find ways to take, this is, one of the best moments of my life was when I realized I could take the soft alternative acupuncture yin side and slam it together with cage fighting. And now that's how I talk to men about the primal and the divine. And when there was a line down the middle and it was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, talk about the divine, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, talk about the primal, I felt like shit. And no one in my world was like, hey, that's a great thing to combine. Let's take soft, poetic this and hard this and put them together. That's your path. Everyone said pick one or the other. I'm a firm believer in take them both and put them together. Because why? Who else is taking pastry, travel, and music and making them into something?
Yeah.
That's your unique, that's you. I hope that helps. Court, do you have anything real quick? And then we're going to throw in a question.
That was beautiful. Let's hit the next one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. So, okay, so someone asked, where do I start? Where do I start? When this is around alcohol, of having issues with a partner and saying, and I'm not reading it because it was sent privately, but where do I start? So, Court, would you like to take a shot at this, or would you like me to?
I think we all start in different places. And you mentioned this earlier with the passion thing. Mm-hmm. Everybody has a different best way that they're going to go about anything. So for me and alcohol, I had to dip my toes in the water several times, and I had to fuck up a lot before I fully committed. I had to get really, really miserable, and I had to exhaust the possibility that there was another way to make my dreams come true. So that's where some people have to start, is like, maybe that's not the best answer, but you may have to exhaust that possibility until you truly hit your knees. Or you can take the much easier approach and just take it from us and know that just do it. Like, start your life now. Like, start with the experiment that Trevor and I have put on with Intoxicate. Just start with 2 months. See what fucking happens. It's 2 months of your life. And that is how I started too, is just like, I can't commit to a year. That's way too scary. I definitely can't commit to forever. Right. So let me try 1 month. Let me see what happens. What's the worst that could happen?
Beautiful. I appreciate that. When I first decided to reach out to someone and say, I reached out to a therapist that I'd worked with, and I was like, I think I'm going to quit drinking and smoking dope. And he was like, I want you to go to an AA meeting. And I was like, bro, like, I had 6 beers last week. And that was like, I don't drink a lot, smoke a lot of dope. He's like, just go to the fucking meeting. Just go to the meeting, look around, listen to what people say, and see about people. Because I told him, like, and I think I'm getting divorced. He's like, I want you to go find people who are living without something that you live with, which is alcohol. And just know that they're doing it. And maybe they are way worse off than you are in how much the quantity is. But if they can live their lives a different way, so can you. Mm-hmm. And so that was huge. I remember going to that meeting and being like, oh my God, you guys drink more before breakfast than I do in a month. and hearing horrendous stories of like restraining orders and people that had killed their kids in car accidents and just the worst. But also walking out going, fuck it. There's no reason why they can do it and I can't. And so it gave me a charge. And so, Court, the question we're having kind of circle back around to is, where do we start finding the integrity and the purpose? So I'm going to say finding integrity. Man, here's a brutal, honest answer. Start figuring out where you're lying.
Mm-hmm.
The tiniest. The tiniest, right? And it's like, don't think that you're going to like win the championships if you're skipping practice.
Yep.
Right? Where do you lie to yourself? Where do you lie to your partner? Where do you lie to your boss? Where do you lie to the person at the supermarket? It's fast. I don't know the number, but the study is like something like 57 times a day the average person lies.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It adds up and you feel it. And the funny thing is, I think we all are, there's kind of like a cultural agreement, right? Like, I won't call you on your bullshit if you don't call me on mine. Like, I won't call you on your small lies if you don't call me on my small lies. So it's like, we kind of think maybe we got away with it, but we're such intuitive creatures. We're so fucking smart. We pick these things up and we know that we're sharing that energy of those small lies. I don't know exactly where I was going with that, but I love that as a first step. And I think that when we look in the mirror and we can say that, it's scary, but it's also the most liberating thing that can ever happen to somebody.
Yeah. I think I've shared this before, that I was in a men's group early on in this journey. And one of the guys was like, imagine if we were just honest and asked for what our needs were. And like the whole group was like, bro, are you Jesus? Like, whoa. What if we just told the truth and told someone like, hey, do you know what I really need from you right now? I was like, but how often in a day do we lie? Right? And it's just the micro. Like, hey, I don't want to come to this thing tonight because of this. Or, hey, this and this. So I'd say start there. Always start with your integrity. Right? For men, get grounded. For everybody, get grounded.
Everybody, for sure.
Right? Get out of your fucking heads. Have a practice. If you want to get to a black belt level of living, you don't get there without spending a shit ton of time getting your ass choked out on the mat. Which means you got to fucking put the uniform on, you got to show up to practice, and you got to get out there. Period, fucking period. So last question, and then let's talk a little bit about the program and let these people have their Tuesday night back. How do you deal with an all or nothing thinking? I find that this is one thing that keeps me stuck.
God, balance is courageous. I was thinking about that today. Like, I'm the type of person where extremes are really so much easier than balance. Like, going on a hardcore diet is so much easier than only eating one piece of chocolate.
Right.
It's tough. It is. I'll give you that. But there are times in your life where you need to go all, right? You need to go all in. And then you can lean back into the balance.
Right.
Maybe you do 2 months of no drinking and you can have a beer enjoyably and it really doesn't affect you. Or maybe you do 2 months and you're like, no, I know this feels too good. I'm not touching it again. There's no fucking way.
Right.
But I think before you can really experience balance, sometimes you need to experience the extremes. Yeah,
you got to come to the party before you can leave it. Right? So it's people who are like, oh, I'm good. I didn't go. I quit 8 times. No, you didn't. You never went all in. You know, the first time I sat down and had lunch with someone, a woman who I knew didn't drink, she's like, go a year. Just make that your thing. Like, go for a year. And if you can't go a year, as determined of a human as you are, then you may want to look into this. And if you go to the end of the year, well, then you pretty much know that a year is long enough that you're not going to just like white knuckle 12 months. That's a long time to white knuckle something. So if you can get to a year, and I actually talked to a therapist about this, who's like, do you want to reintroduce alcohol into your life? Do you want to reintroduce pot into your life? And go on the journey, of, you said, Court, of managing now this thing is available to me. And now how do I deal with it? But I just chose not to. And it wasn't that I didn't want to deal with it. I just knew that, fuck, this way was like, if you're on this track, why bother hopping down below and be like, I don't know, maybe I'll see what it's like down here.
And that's so powerful, right? When you're choosing it, you're not having to force it. It's effortless. It's effortless for you now, Traver, to not drink.
Yeah, it's like, and you know, it's so funny. I cannot believe this happened, that a bunch of my guy friends quit drinking. And it was literally like, you guys too? And they're like, yeah, I don't know. It's like the 4-minute mile.
Well, it's not cool. It's not as cool as it once was. And I guarantee you in 10 years, it's going to be even more or less cool. And in 20 years, you know, with younger generations, it's so culturally normalized. And I just dare all y'all to go have a first kiss sober and tell me how it feels. Because the first time I had my first sober kiss, I felt like I was in 6th fucking grade. And I remember like shutting the door and putting my back to the door, and I'm going like,
oh my God, you're adorable. Absolutely adorable.
like, that's what it is to be alive, people. Amen. You know, not these like drunken makeout sessions where you're like trying to be some sort of archetype, but you're so numb inside, and you wake up the next morning and you're like, I think he's a good kisser. I'm really not.
And you just taste bar in your mouth.
Right.
Lovely, 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 lovely. All right, we're coming up on the hour. So you guys, if you're interested in joining Courtney and I for Intoxicate, just a quick rundown on it. We actually have a couple people here who have taken it. We're going 2 months, and what we're asking you to do is whatever your thing is, let it sit on a back shelf.
Yeah.
We're just not asking like, hey, I need to go sober forever and become some kind of warrior about it. Just say, hey, for 2 months, I want to go on an experiment and see what's under the hood. I want to see what life's like without pot, without porn, without online shopping, without fucking strangers, without whatever your thing is. Because I guarantee you there's truth under there. There's expression that's waiting to come out. And it may take 6 weeks for you to find it. And the challenge is every week you've been resetting and resetting and resetting. And so for the first 4 weeks of this course, and it's every Monday, we're going to release a video that has some assignments for the week. And then you're going to get one of us in a group call. You're going to get put on a team with other people. I think we have some teams on here. Oh my God, remember being on a team? God, the most magical thing on earth, to have support from other people. For the first half of it, we're going to ask you to look at what's under the surface. Where is your pain? Don't tell me you don't have any if you're drinking, smoking, getting high, fucking strangers, blowing lines, whatever it is that you're doing. Don't you dare tell me you don't have unresolved pain. We're going to ask you to look at it bravely. And we're going to hold your hand while you do.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to do that for a month. And then the next month, we're going to ask you to build something. We're going to ask you to create a life for yourself, the one that you're probably lying in bed at night thinking about, and then not waking up into the next day. It's not easy, but it's fucking beautiful.
So beautiful.
If you're interested, I'm going to throw a link up here for everybody. It's www.CourtneyMcNabb, for those of you listening at home, CourtneyMcNabb.com/intoxicate. We have a couple people already signed up. We've got room for a couple more if you want to go on an adventure. 2 months of your life. That's it. To change the rest of it. It's a pretty small investment.
Yeah. Right? And that's a guarantee. Yeah. We've done this before. It's tried and true. You know, you can see Eric, he's glowing right now. Like
yeah, we've got a couple people on here that just crushed it.
That
have completely different lives.
Completely different. Like truly. Right? Like we're not just like saying that shit. Like it's the truth. If you show up to this, I will personally guarantee you will not be the same person after it. Traver and I take both of all of the modalities that have changed our lives. And we're giving it to y'all. Not only we're giving it to you, we're saying use this, take this, and watch it transform you. And the difference between doing that on your own and doing that in a container it's beyond tremendous. It's the difference between it almost happening and it actually fucking happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, you guys. Thank you for your time. Courtney, as always, it's a pleasure. I love you. Thank you guys for hopping on. I appreciate your time, energy, and questions. You know how to get us. All of you probably found us from Instagram or our websites. We're not hard to find. And have a great rest of your evening. I'm headed to Arizona to teach a workshop. Cheers.
Have so much fun, favorite.
Cheers. Thank you.
Love you.